Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Global Evolutionary Summit, a place where we focus on raising consciousness, normalizing spirituality, and being the change in the world. And I have to say, I was chatting with Ebi before we started, and this is without question one of my favorite summits. It has been so incredibly powerful, and today is no exception. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce our next master teacher, Ebi Lewis. Let me tell you a little bit about Ebi. Her work centers on not enough and how it shows up both in human systems personally and collectively, and what it actually does when it shows up. In her framework, not enough is not a flaw or a deficit. It's an intelligence signaling imbalance. It's not a truth about who someone is. It only appears when wholeness exists. And I can't wait to learn more about this. She works with individuals and organizations. With individuals, the work supports people stepping out of a repeating narrative loop, regaining authority in how they think, decide, and respond. And with organization, Ebi works at the level of the organizational narrative intelligence. Now just think about that overarching energy field. Identifying the narratives shaping culture, decision making, and performance. She works with leaders where meaning and authority are set, easing narrative pressure at the source so capacity, trust, and momentum can return across the system. So Ebi's work sits beneath behavioral change and mindset correction at the level where meaning, authority, and perception are organized. So I cannot wait to hear more of what you will share. And Ebi, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Teresa. I am so honored to be here and to take part in the Global Evolutionary Summit. It's exciting, and I'm super grateful for the work you're doing. And now my mic has decided to collapse, just like boundaries sometimes, which is quite interesting because that's what I'll be talking about. There you go. I think I've restored it, just like we will restore our boundaries. Anyway, before we begin, I'd like to invite you to arrive fully. You can close your eyes if you wish to take part in this very brief exercise. But essentially, take a breath and call yourself back to this moment, this present moment, and back into yourself. Then bring your awareness to your feet. And become aware of the soles of your feet. Rest your awareness on the soles of your feet. For a moment. Then you can take another breath and gently open your eyes. Welcome. I have one other invitation for you, and that's to, if you wish, if you've not already done so, Set an intention of what you'd like from today. What do you feel you need? What would you like? Or what are you curious about? And then let's begin. So today I'm going to talk about how not enough erodes boundaries. And within that topic, within that title, there are two things, not enough and boundaries. So I'm going to cover both before we get to how not enough erodes boundaries. So let's start with not enough. What is not enough? Not enough is a universal experience. Some call it a wound in the universal, in the collective consciousness of humanity. But a simpler way to look at it would be to say it is a human experience, much like joy, pain, laughter. We all get to experience it. Everyone, even the most successful person in the world, experiences not enough. It lies dormant until it's activated. And once it's activated, it begins to organize the way we think about ourselves and the world, just how it organizes how we interact with each other and the world. My earliest awareness of not enough being activated for me was when I was around about 4.5, 5. I don't remember. I know I wasn't 5 yet, but my mom said we were going on a trip, a special trip to visit her sister, and that it would be my birthday soon. And she said, when we get there, we will have a party. I was excited. So we went on this trip to her sister's. When we arrived there, I don't recall having a party, but I recall my mother saying she was going to the shop. And so she went to the shop, but then she never returned. I would wait every day asking where my mother was, but she never returned. That's when I went from being from my memory, from what I remembered anyway, being a fairly carefree child to feeling not enough. Now, at the time, I didn't know it was not enough. I didn't know anything about not enough. So I was only a child. From there, I went through my life feeling not enough, showing up in relationships as not enough. It shaped how I moved through the world, what I tolerated, what I did, and the boundaries I had or didn't have. The thing about not enough is that it shows up as stories, the narratives we have running. And sometimes it's stories we tell ourselves, stories, it could be stories the world tells us, stories our families tell us, culture, society at large, just stories. And the stories could be, you're not good enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not, thin enough. The list goes on, right? And stories could be even for just being different, for being Black, for being brown, for being gay, for being disabled, neurodivergent, just for being different. And these stories affects how we see ourselves, what we put up with, the boundaries we might have, the boundaries we hold or not. The other thing about not enough, in my experience, is that it's one thing for somebody to feel that they're not good enough, but then it can also be reinforced by society and culture. And for me, despite my early beginnings, by the time I was 30, I built a couture, a boutique couture business. And through my fashion, my work in fashion, media, and entertainment, I met many internationally known figures. And yet, so I was doing really well. And yet I would go out and about and I would not be welcomed because I'm Black, or sometimes because I'm a woman. In some circumstances, I was not welcome for being a woman. And there was one time I hosted the president of a country along with the whole cabinet that came to the UK. I hosted them and then finished the event and then went to the local supermarket to buy some food. And I was refused being served at the counter. And I was even followed around the shop being asked, are you going to steal something? So it didn't matter what I was doing. Not enough was always there somehow. So that's the worldview, if you like. That's one face of not enough that most people see. But in my work, not enough is not a flaw. It's not a deficit. Doesn't mean that there's something wrong or something that you're missing something. In my work, I call not enough a coded brilliance. It carries so much intelligence that I had to name it a coded brilliance. Not enough shows up when we feel unsafe or when something feels at stake. And so it protects its intelligence under pressure. And it tells us when something we need to be aware of something, such as we are out of our balance, we're out of our nature, our true self. We have moved away from something that is whole. So in my work, you can't experience not enough unless you're whole. It's a protective intelligence under pressure. So here's an example of what I mean. I was working, I'm going to share a few stories, and I have permission for all of them. One of them was this story, a client told me that she attended a workshop, and during the workshop, the facilitator called her out of the blue to recap what had been taught. My clients froze. She panicked. She was like, and so then she did something really brilliant. She began moving her lips as though her mic was broken. Now, on the surface, that might seem like avoidance, weakness, and so on. But I interpret that as intelligence under pressure. That was that her not enough intelligence did what it could do best: protect her. So her system just moved instantly to protect her from exposure. She didn't ask to be called. She wasn't ready. It wasn't something she wanted. And not enough. I hear about imposter syndrome and so on often. And if we paid attention to it, of course, there is clinical imposter syndrome. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about not enough type. Often there's intelligence there. Often it could mean that perhaps you need to do a little bit more research. Perhaps you need to improve something. Perhaps you need to go a little bit deeper. Or perhaps you just need to leave it and it's enough. So for me, when not enough arises, it's a friend telling me something. So that's not enough. But so now let's go into boundaries. What are boundaries? I'm just going to read what the Oxford English Dictionary says boundaries are. It says a real or imagined line that makes the limits or edges of something separate and separates it from other things or places, a dividing line. That's what it says. But for me, when I look at boundaries, I'm looking at it from human beings, the way we move in just being human. Right? And boundaries are innate. As human beings, boundaries are innate. And like, think about it. Children know when something feels right. They know when something feels intrusive. They know when they need space. So we all have boundaries. So it's not that we lack boundaries and that we have to, develop boundaries. But it's that we always had boundaries and we always have boundaries rather, but it's whether we blur them or whether we negotiate them or whether we bend them. And we've learned how to override our boundaries through society and culture and just general upbringing. I mean, you think about the things that parents do with their children. They see the child goes to visit a parent, a family member. They're told, give so-and-so a hug and all that kind of stuff. And the child's like, doesn't really want to, but does anyway. There are many ways our boundaries become overridden. I'm just going to show you something. I'm trying to now bear with me. I want to share my screen. Share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Great. Thank you. So boundaries. For me, boundaries are energy. They are alive. They respond. They recede. They allow. They recede and return. And we're constantly interacting with each other's boundaries. Boundaries are also relational. And when we think about boundaries, we often think about how protecting my boundaries or saying no and so on. And we very rarely think about what about me respecting other people's boundaries? So pushing, negotiating without limits, trying to get a yes through emotions, not respecting other people's time, space, thinking, and so on. So for me, when I look at boundaries, it calls for not just for us to defend, protect our boundaries, but also to have integrity. With how I show up when it comes to other people's boundaries as well. So that's boundaries. And now, how not enough erodes boundaries? How not enough erodes boundaries? Well, to help us to illustrate this, we're going to look at three very, very short stories. And in all three of them, not enough is the driver. And I'm going to tell them from the lens of archetypes, because that's how I teach not enough, through archetypes. I have over 50 archetypes and over 130 shadows of not enough archetypes. So today we're going to look at the first one, which is the boundary apologizer. And this story is from Susan. And Susan apologized for everything, just about everything. But it all came to a head when she was organizing the hen night, or in America, I think we say the bachelor, is it the bachelorette party or something like that? And all the girls were, around her house, her flats, they were all getting ready and so on. And it was a weekend thing. It wasn't just one night. And anyway, they were out and about one day or one night during one of the during that hen night event, and someone bumped into her, and she said sorry. And then later it was raining, and she apologized to everybody that it was raining and that they were getting wet. And then they needed to go somewhere. I think it was the pub or something. And the taxi driver was late. And she felt bad and she apologized to everybody that the taxi driver was late. Then one of the bridesmaids said, "Why do you keep apologizing? You're not the taxi driver. Why are you apologizing?" Huh. That sort of took her by surprise. She hadn't really been aware that she was doing that. I'm just going to now share my screen with you because I want to go a little bit deeper with this particular archetype. So this is the boundary apologizer. The intelligence beneath this particular boundary is to reduce friction. I'm sure you can think of many more, but I'm just going to keep it very brief. Reduce friction. Preserve safety. And avoid consequences. So there is real intelligence behind their behavior with all three, as you will see. This archetype, this particular story with Susan, that was her thing. She just wanted harmony. She didn't want people getting upset with her. She felt uncomfortable with tension. So I want us to go a little bit deeper with this. And to do this, I want us to look at something I call the permission points. And permission points are literally what sort of permission is available or was available when something happens, or permissions that we want to make available in any given situation. Could be work or relationships. And I just want to just say that in regards to permissions, when we think about it, babies don't ask permission to do their business, to do whatever they do. Children just don't, because permission is an internal state. And then later on, again, we're taught to ask for permission for just about everything. And for a lot of people, we learn to outsource permission. Hey, what do you think about this? Should I do this? Should I wear this dress? Should I do that? Should I do this? We outsource permission. But we can restore permission. And when we restore permission, permission can then become in-house, back into this internal state. So we can really scan and find that permission internally. It's an internal state. So let's look at what was going on in this story from the viewpoint of permission points. What felt easier to permit? Careful language, apologizing, that felt easier. Softening, responsibility taking. She wasn't the taxi driver and she's taking responsibility. Okay, what required safety before she could have direct speech? For example, safety was required for direct speech to take place. Expressing frustration, maybe telling the taxi driver, you're late. She couldn't do any of that because she didn't feel safe. Self-expression. Okay, what was eroded? Her position, her needs, accuracy of responsibility. Okay, what had to feel secure first before she could hold boundary? Her environment, acceptance, approval, and harmony. Harmony was a big thing, or is a big thing for this particular archetype. What felt of it unavailable? Letting others know the discomfort. Just in case you're writing, I'll just pause a moment. What could be restored for this archetype? Permission to let others take responsibility. Permission to express. Permission to be comfortable. With what is. All right, so now let's look at the second archetype. This is the boundary bender. Kate is a single parent. She found it hard to hold boundaries with her children. She would say no, and then she would change her mind. Basically, Kate had 5 children and she was divorced. It was a messy divorce and she felt pretty bad that her children were now growing up without their father fully present. They saw him at the weekends, but, you know, it's not the same. And so she felt guilty about that. The children would ask her, can I have money for this? Maybe, you know, to go to the mall. What was the other things? Ice cream, to buy ice cream. There were many things she said no to. And she said that she would just lie awake at night, feeling really guilty, feeling bad. And so the next morning, she would say, hey, here's the money that you want for this. Or, hey, here's the thing that you said you wanted. Here. And she would give in. On the surface, it might seem like Kate was a mother that just didn't have boundaries, or that she was weak and she just needs to be a little bit tougher. You know? But what's the intelligence here? The intelligence beneath, I'm sure you can think of many more, but we're going to keep it simple. The intelligence beneath this was a mother trying to preserve connection, protect connection, and prevent loss of that connection with her children. And the other part of the intelligence is that the intelligence, the way it was being read is, if I'm firm, I'm being harsh. Let's go a little bit deeper though. Let's figure out what was going on. What was she permitting? What needed to be available through the eyes or lens of the permission points? What felt easier to permit? Well, flexibility felt easier. Emotional soothing, and being adaptable. Reversal of decisions. What required safety? Before Kate could be consistent, she required some sort of safety, an internal safety to be consistent. Safety was required for firmness. Safety was required for follow through and trust in disappointment. And a calm no. What was eroded? Her rules, her money boundaries, her capacity, her own limits, resources. What had to feel secure first? Relief from guilt, feeling like a good mother, and peace in the moment, and harmony. What felt unavailable? Holding the line through discomfort. It felt unavailable for her. It was not a weakness. Letting the children feel disappointed. That was not available. A loving no. So what could be restored for Kate? Because we have permission, internal permission. And so restoration is always possible. Restoration of any boundary is always possible if we allow ourselves, if we permit them. Permission to lovingly hold no. Permission not to overgive or compensate because of the absence of their father. Permission to let disappointment pass through. So that was the boundary bender. And now we're going to look at the final story, and it is the emptied sovereign. And this story is about Lisa. Lisa lived in a village, a place that flooded every year without fail. Every year it flooded. And she knew it flooded. It was a village that flooded before she moved there. But she just thought that where she was going to live, as far as she was concerned, had never flooded before. So she moved there. And year in, year out, the floods came. The rain, every time it rained, rainy season, the place flooded. And her friends will say, come on, move, leave that place, come on. And she just would say, I don't know if I can. And the rain will come and the waters will rise, come inside the house. And she had creatures literally swimming in her living room. Water will come sometimes knee high, sometimes waist high. And then she will eventually run to someone else's place and stay there for a few days, sometimes weeks, and let the water dry out before she returned. This went on for years. And eventually, her sister said, here's some money, move. She resisted. She fought it. She was like, no, 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 no. No, I can't take it. I don't even, where would I go? Eventually, she accepted the help and she moved. The following year, the rain came and that whole area was flooded again. But this time, she was on dry land. And she said to her sister, oh, all these years, all this time, I didn't know I could do this. The intelligence underneath this stoic endurance, put up with it, stay and protect my house, stay and protect the home. After all, it is my home. And plus, I don't want looters to come and steal things. Stay and protect the home. When we understand the intelligence behind these stories, we can dissolve the shame around them. Now let's look at what else was going on for the emptied sovereign's permission points. What felt easier to permit? Survival felt easier. Waiting. Perhaps it will change. Endurance. Holding everything. Just holding it together. What required safety? Choice. Movement. Vulnerability. Change. Receiving help, even. What was eroded? Her energy, her health, her desires, her personal future, her standards. What had to be secure? What had to feel secure first? Certainty, stability, safety. What felt unavailable? Self-authored authority in that moment. Life beyond survival. What could be restored for Lisa? Permission to know that the conditions that make choice possible were available. She said, I didn't know that I could. Permission to receive help. Permission to survive. Sorry, permission to live beyond survival. So those are the 3 stories I wanted to share with you today. The thing about boundaries is that it might seem like it's rigid but I think that's just perception. And I'm sharing my screen again with you. And here's what I mean by that. You look at these buildings, they look immovable, they look solid. But engineers, when they build buildings, and I'm sure you know about this, they leave room for movement through the joints. They add joints for movement, because without these boundaries within, so elements within the building have boundaries so that the building can move when there is wind or there is rain, heat, just environmental stuff. And our boundaries are like that. Boundaries that are too rigid can snap. So boundaries need to be flexible. They need to be able to expand, recede, move over to someone else's. You know, sometimes we have our boundaries overlapping sometimes. And so it helps to look at boundaries from that viewpoint of being flexible. Because even though you might say, I will never do X, Y, Z, well, you know what? Sometimes something in life will happen that will push you to do that thing that you say you wouldn't do. So for me, the goal is not about perfect boundaries. The goal is about being aware of your boundaries, being aware of when you can expand them, when you can contract them, but being aware of it and doing it all with consciousness. So it's not about, so it's about sort of like moving from unconscious sort of way of moving with boundaries to being absolutely consciously aware of what you're choosing and what you're not choosing and so on. But I'm going to add the word maturity to boundaries, because this returning back to boundaries, because I believe that we were all born with boundaries. We were all aware of our boundaries. But with learning overriding that, we learned to not be aware of them. And now it's about maturing in boundaries. So we learn something about boundaries and we add another learning, and then we add another learning to it. It's a maturing thing. That's what it is for me, at least. And that's why I can't sit here and tell you that I have great boundaries. I'm learning and I'm maturing in my boundaries. And that's it. So I would love to take some questions if you have any questions, comments, or anything. Thank you for your time. Yes, Donna.
Ebi, thank you so much. This was really interesting. I really have a great amount of awareness around just the simple concept of having less rigidity around boundaries, and the idea that our boundaries can really support us with more flexibility. And like you're talking about the ebb and the flow, and I love the metaphor of the shoreline and the ocean and the truth of that energy going out and coming in, and um, just my own awareness of connecting inside of myself to ask the question, what is the permission needed in this situation? For myself, for the environment, for the other person, is really an unlock. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. This was lovely.
Thank you.
Ebi. Um, I feel like on some level we're speaking a similar language around boundaries, and yet your wisdom expands and enhances, right, in a way that is so important. And it just reaffirms all of this for me in terms of the process of this summit, the process of really embracing and including and being open to wisdom, because it's so layered, right? There's so many ways to say the same thing, but each one adds a nuance that expands our consciousness in a way that can be a small shift. It can be, sort of a tectonic plate movement in someone's life, and you just never know when the way it's said or the addition of that piece, right? So I love that. The fact that you said that children, they were born, because I always, in my work, in my practice, I ask people to imagine themselves as a newborn or imagine a newborn, because we know perfection when we see it. Right? We know that energy that comes into this world as a complete soul that does not need fixing, or, it's a journey, it's a learning. There's a soul school, life school. But that self is completely formed, it's whole. There is nothing wrong with it. So when you said that, I thought, of course, right? That's the place to begin, because you're right. Children, they don't ask permission. They don't like this. They don't like that. They don't like to be held this way. They don't like to be soothed this way. They just let you know. And we adapt because we want to.
Yeah.
Or we try to.
Yes.
Right? So that symbiotic relationship, what in my world I call attunement, and not just parent and child, between adults or not children and children. So I want to really thank you for that, because that's the piece that I think really, for me, grounds it in something that we can all return to. We know that's true. Right.
Oh,
And then comes the layers of managing.
yes.
Right. And that, to me, I mean, in my practice, or in IFS, protectors and your intelligence, like, they're the same thing. They want to help you. It is a good reason that we do what we do.
Yeah.
And it's an intelligence that helps us move forward as best we
Yeah.
can. So I love that. And I love the archetypes that then help people sort of self-identify and be like, okay, so what is it that can sort of take me to an understanding that elevates my maturity? So I'm just reiterating what you've said, but I'm just saying it in a way that I'm really grateful, because, like, you think you're so full, and then you realize you got so much more room to expand. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. As you were speaking, I wanted to cry. I was like, stop it, stop it. Just I'm so moved by this, the connection we have here, and I'm connecting with everything you've just shared. And the wisdom you've shared. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to shut up now. Thank you.
Right. So, to say namaste in the most heartfelt way feels so right. Right. So the light and the wisdom is reflected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel humbled. I think that's the word.
Ebi, I just loved every part of this.
Thank you.
I love when you talked about and transformed it into the not good enough as a friend. And what a beautiful way to look at the wisdom of not good enough. I loved that. And, ditto to everything Ava said, Donna said. And I love the archetypes, but particularly the permissions, I think, are so important around this. And in my own work, I've really been looking at permissions and identity. So it was really beautiful how you talked about that in regards to the archetypes and the boundaries. It was such a simple and profound way to express that wisdom.
Thank you.
I love that. And I feel like that expanded the work that I'm looking at around permissions and identity. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then the maturing of boundaries, because we are always becoming and we're always growing and evolving, and it's so important for those boundaries to do the same. And just in you talking about that, I feel like there's permission there.
Yeah.
So I love that. So thank you for this. I got so much out of it.
Oh, so I'm so humbled to hear that, because I know how awesome you all are. And seriously, and in regards to permission, oh my goodness, with not enough, I came to realize was my friend, because I wrestled with it for so long. And then I thought, I need to own my worth. So I worked with the whole owning my worth. And then it was, I'm deserving. Yes. And you know what? I still wasn't getting anywhere, because and then it was boom, like, when insights just drop it just dropped. And it was permission. And I felt this sort of like, like goosebumps over my back. And I was like, okay, this is something real here. This is something I need to pay attention to. I need to pay attention to this. And then I realized, there you go, Ebi. You've not given yourself permission to be yourself, to have your physique, the way you look. I didn't give myself permission to do anything, to be myself or in any way at all, or even whatever I'm having or doing. Business, permission to be successful. Oh, so many things. I could have been way more successful, I'm thinking, if I had given myself permission, but I didn't, So that was a big, big piece for me. And now it's kind of, I use it to guide me. It's the only way I can explain it. Guide me.
It's beautiful the way you did it, because it's so true when you talked about we have learned to outsource our permission. And when you took us through that, I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. Because I haven't really thought of it that way. So that was an aha from me. So thank you.
Thank you. I certainly did. I would ask about everything. Hey, what do you think about this hairstyle? I'm thinking about doing my hair like this. I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about this? I mean, so many things. I was always asking permission, but I didn't see it like that. I thought I was getting advice.
Right? Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
And then eventually, when I started to work on it, I stopped asking. I would do things, even on my website, I wouldn't even ask anybody. Normally I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this color? What do you think? I'm like, nah. And so I would shift inwards, and then I'll find the knowing that says, yes, it's that. And I'll go, great, that's it, we're doing that. And so, yeah, I know, I really thought I was asking advice. I thought I was in fact, I thought I was being humble even at times. Nah. I was outsourcing.
I want to pop back in because as you're both talking, what's coming forward for me is this repeated point that you made about what's the intelligence underneath. And there was such relief in that. It's like, in a way, and I don't know if this makes sense, this is like the wholeness of it all. It's like what happened in the past, we can let ourselves off the hook for that, however that looked, and with the permission, we can make a different choice.
Oh, love that.
It's really
I love that.
So beautiful, that reinforced point that you brought through again and again about being aware of the intelligence in every move that we make, right? And like in every moment, we're all doing the best we can with the tools that we've got to work with, everybody is. So I just wanted to drop in there with that.
Oh, Donna, thank you so much. What you said just now just brought back this memory of me being really harsh with myself. Like I used to be really tough on myself. I was so tough on myself that, I mean, it was even scaring me. I was really that tough. And but working within, just understanding this intelligence has helped me to be kinder to myself. And now I see things going on. I look at myself, I would do something, or I'm thinking about doing something, or feeling a certain way. I'm like, I see what's going on here. And I'm having a laugh with myself. I'm sort of like, oh yeah, I get it, almost like a crazy person having chats with myself. But yeah, it's really helped me to be a lot gentler with myself and kinder to myself.
Right, which is why this is so important, because you're not alone. Especially as women, we are our own worst critic always. And I mean, I call my past relationship with myself was like inner brutality.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, that's
oh my
no
gosh.
joke.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like,
Wow.
this is so eye-opening what you're sharing.
Mm,
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
was going to jump in just for a second, going off what Donna said, because I was thinking the same thing as you were talking, Ebi, just about the coming full circle almost, and how as a young child, how you know instinctually kind of
Mm,
when to say no, when to say whatever, and then how that gets kind of trained out of you, and you abandon yourself to then come back to
yeah.
reclaim yourself and to
Oh,
save yourself. And it
love it.
reminded me, I can't remember the whole poem, but there's some poem, I want to say it's Thoreau, but it's something about through you go through your life, and at the end of your life, or toward the maturity, you see yourself and greet yourself as if you've come home again to the person you always were. I don't know, does anyone know the piece I'm talking about? But that's the whole, like somehow you
Right.
go on this huge life journey just to come home to who you already were, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and with the
Oh my
ocean
God.
too, the ebb and the flow, I loved, like, to me, the dance of boundaries, so they're
Mm,
not these rigid things, because in every story you told, it was the person, the woman, and then her interaction with, her world, whatever. So it's a dance, right? That then tests the
yes.
boundaries. And anyway, I love the ocean
Oh
image.
my gosh, I
I
love
always
that.
love the ocean images, but it was just a whole different way to feel boundaries. Like, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was watching the waves. I was like, so you see the wave crest and dissolve, but then when the
Mm,
wave comes up onto the beach, like, when is
mm.
the wave, and when is the beach the beach? Right? I mean, kind of the
Wow.
beach of the
Yes.
grain of
Yeah.
sand and the little grains of water become like, is it water, or is it beach? Or is
Yeah.
it beachy water or watery
Yeah,
beach? I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
Oh, I love that. But it's so true. It's so true. That dance and that connecting, that dance, we can't have the dance without wind, or you know what I mean? We can't have the dance without all the other elements.
Yeah.
And I love that. And as you were speaking, when you were talking about coming back, I started to get this feeling in my body. It's almost like something was simmering, this energy simmering inside my body, and I could feel what it was. It was so true. It's so true. This coming back, and every year I set an intention, and that intention carries me through the year. One thing, a personal one and a business one. And one of my intentions one year was I am home in my light. And so that's the intention that was carrying me through, to just be present. And that's intention really, really felt like I'd come home. Everything sort of made sense. So when you were talking, it just took me back to that intention. That's exactly what's happened. Thank you.
So you're so welcome. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Linda. You had a question.
Oh, no, thank you. No, not quite well. I mean, I could have answered the question, but today, I mean, as all of you were talking, my heart was pounding and resonating with what you said. But one thing I wanted to say a bit is also acknowledge and thank you for the way, the care that you put on putting today's talk together, first of all. And also for someone like me that, okay, let's say my transformation journey or deep transformation journey hasn't started very long ago. I just find that the way you talk about the archetypes and um, you're given a voice to something that for me for many years I couldn't understand and I was scared and very ashamed of. So for me, I feel that you make understanding accessible to everyone and you also make it acceptable in the sense that you remove the shame and just to see the intelligence, the brilliance behind those traits, let's call them, or patterns. It just makes me feel like I'm taking a breath and let things go, even just for a moment. And I loved your stories, resonated with some of them. And yes, I wanted to thank you for just making things so easy to understand and and sort of experience and accept. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. From my heart, thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'll chime in as well.
Mm.
Thank you, Ebi. And it's so interesting that we took a topic that we're all experiencing every day and probably discussing a lot as well, and looked into that in a very unusual way. First of all, you kind of shared what you really embodied, and I could sense this, and you brought it through human stories. And the two most profound insights for me were the sense of safety, that boundary is not really about harshness, right, or firmness, but really where we need it, it's more of a protection in the when we don't feel safe. And this helps me to look at my own experience and experience with other people through that lens as well, especially when I see that people are not really, let's call it fluent with their boundaries, when there's still some struggle. And sometimes it does feel like, kind of, what would stop you? And now looking at that same situation through the lens, okay, where don't you feel safe? It's a whole new layer of empathy, if you wish, and compassion as well. So that's one. And the second was, I think a couple of people mentioned it already, the notion of outsourced permission. And that went so deep for me personally and through my experience with other people as well. And indeed, start with kids and being a parent as well. We often put it on people, right? On kids that you must ask for, you name it,
Yeah.
right? And no, you don't. That's the whole point. So having this notion that we need to ask for permission, right? And even honestly for ourselves, being harsh on us, right? That we need to allow ourselves something because boundaries are always about our own honoring of our needs, right? So it's not about other people, it's not about rules, it's about uh, am I able right now to honor my need or not?
Right.
Am I able to say no to something that's, I know it's not mine, I feel it, but am I able to? Do I feel safe bringing it back, right? That's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your sharing. And thank you for the wisdom you've shared, even through what you've shared. I appreciate you. Thank you.
For just a sec, Ebi, because I want to highlight the one word you said that I think has carried us through that Teresa channeled for me once a while back, which is harmony. And Lori's focused on that too. And you're beginning talking about how we often focus on boundaries, our own need to develop the maturity and the self-awareness and understanding and the protectors or the intelligence. So it's a journey. It's a journey. But you started by saying, and we need to focus on how we honor other people's boundaries, right? And I thought that was, again, such a huge point because with harmony, I could almost feel this idea that often we learn how to harmonize with someone else sort of calling the tune, right? And we learn to just sort of work with that as opposed to recognizing the reciprocity and the need to honor together and shift together and have that ability to hear, listen, so that we can literally harmonize in a way that works for everyone to feel safe. Right? So that focus that took it away from just me and my boundaries and my journey to, how do I show up and honor other people? How aware am I of the need to harmonize, right? Externally and internally. So huge piece. So again, thank you.
Thank you. It's something I've become aware of in my own life with myself and the people I work with, clients, or and just, yeah, it's come from hard learning, you could say. The universe goes, wake up. Okay, all right, I'm awake.
Thank you, Ebi. For me, the standout was the reminder that boundaries and not enough is malleable, especially the boundaries, that things are not immutable. And that leads us into, yes, thank you, leads us into moving into ourselves for permission and to know what feels right, which is the source of infinite wisdom. It's in here, right? And that reflective no or yes requires consideration.
Yeah.
And I think that space between opportunity and response needs to be honored, because that's where the boundary lives. And with what we've learned today, we understand it's malleable. What is my response? What is my conscious response to the request today, right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love what you said. And when I think about response, one thing that's really helped me is constantly telling myself I have the ability to respond. I have the ability to respond. I have not, so where something might feel overwhelming or I want to avoid something or whatever, but just that I have a response ability. I have the ability to respond.
Yeah. I love that. For me, emotions are information. When you have an emotion, it's giving you the intelligence that you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And are we taking time to listen and honor ourselves for the wisdom within? Yeah. Beautiful.
Today I was sitting on the sofa working away on my computer. And from time to time, my eyes will move towards a headphone that was by the sofa. And then I'll go back to doing what I'm doing. It happened like 3 times. And I just ignored it, carried on doing what I'm doing. And then later on, I got up and I and I basically got caught on it and it snapped.
Wow.
And I thought, isn't that interesting? And I said, yep, you did try to warn me. I had many moments of, I saw it and I didn't even know why I was looking at it, but yeah.
Yeah.
All these subtleties from emotions to, you name it, subtle ways of communications coming through.
Well, and everything that we are drawn to is a message from our guides, from our higher self, from our soul, to direct us. Something I share with clients all the time, or when I'm speaking, is we receive thousands of messages intuitively a day, and we pay attention to 3.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
But it's true.
Oh gosh.
Right?
I've been missing. Oh my Sorry.
Okay, so let's put some context around that. Sometimes they're repeating the same thing over and over because they
No,
really
that's
want
true.
us to
That's
get
true.
it.
No, that's true. Like the headphones, like the looking at the headphones.
Right.
To the headphones. Move it because you are going to trip.
Oh, what an absolutely magical time today. I want to thank everybody who is in attendance and all of you watching later. Ebi, thank you so much. Evocative conversations, evocative content, and that's what we want. We want to make people think and expand their perceptions. Next week, we have our panel conversations, and I am very, very excited to hear Deanne, Eva, and Ebi share their wisdoms and address questions from the audience. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
beautiful
you, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all.